number of islands. So it says giving an n by n to the binary grid, which represents a map of ones and zeros. So ones represents land, zeros represents water. Over here we have a grid. Now what they're trying to tell us is that an island is surrounded by water. So let's say we have lands surrounded by water, which is 1, 1, 1. Now we want to assume all four edges of the grid are surrounded by water. So all four edges of the grid are surrounded by water. So I had a question before, which was if let's say that there's no water in the grid, should we return 0, right? Is it possible for a case like that to happen, or is it possible for a case to be that there's no land? If there's no land, should we return 0? That is it possible for a grid to be empty? So these are all questions that I have. Now, to solve a problem like this, my plan is to iterate through each row or column and check, is there land here? If there's land here, I'm going to use a depth first search to check for water. Now, if there's water, then I'm going to increment my land. I'm going to increment my number of islands. So this is what I'm going to do. The first thing I'm going to do, my plan is to first check if my grid, if the length of my grid is empty. And if it is empty, I'm going to return 0. Now, I want to store the number of islands. So I'm going to create a function. No, I'm going to store a variable called number of islands, not a function. Apologies. And I'm going to initialize that to 0. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say I'm going to say for row in, let's just use row. For row in length in range, because I want to loop through each row, length of the grid, and for column in range, length of the column. I'm going to say length of the grid, and I want to be getting the column, so 0. Now I want to say that if grid row and column, so if what we're looking at as we're looping, right, if grid row and column is equal to a land, now I want to say that first of all, I'm going to run DFS to check if it's surrounded by water. I'm going to impute all my values, and then I am going to increment my number of islands. Then I'm going to be returning my number of islands. So one thing that I have to do is I need to create my DFS. So let me initialize that function, and I'm going to be taking in self, I'm going to be taking in grid, I'm going to be taking in row, and I'm going to be taking in column. So the first things first, we want to make sure that this is not water. I want to make sure that we're still in range. So if row is less than 0, meaning we're not in range, or column is less than 0, meaning we're not in range, or row has exceeded or is equal to the length of the grid, meaning we're not there yet, I made a mistake, or column is greater than or equal to the length of the grid, or let's say that it's just a water body, which is not what we're looking for, or grid row and column is equal to 1. That's not what we're looking for. We are just going to return. Else in a situation where this is not the case, we know that grid row to column is going to be equal to water. Now I want to go through this up, right, left, down, right, because I want to be checking horizontally and vertically. So I'm going to say self.dfs, and I'm going to be calling it on my grid, on my row, and on my column. But I'll be checking the different areas, the different directions. I'm going to be checking it on my grid, my row. Let's see, move to the right, move to the left. Grid, move down, move up. Okay, let's try running this now. So we have an invalid syntax. With row call, oh, this is meant to be 0. So grid row call. It's 1 with this one. So and the grid row call is not equal to, so C, can I replace everything? Yes. So everywhere I see C, I want to replace it with call. I don't know how that happened. I don't know why I'm saying OOL. Okay, it's because I transformed it. Oof. Call. Okay, so this was accepted. Time complexity O of m by n, where m is the number of rows, n is the number of columns. Space complexity is O of m by n, where m is the number of rows, n is the number of columns in the DFS solution. So in the worst case scenario, right? Thank you.